Donald Trump has a long history making anti-Semitic remarks, in particular invoking the dual loyalty stereotype, which implies Jewish Americans must care about some other loyalty they have, their religion or the state of Israel and its politics, more than they care about domestic issues in the U.S. When he said, your prime minister, he was talking to American Jews. He's their president. It's been especially true in the wake of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Just today, the ex-president again invoked this stereotype in an attack on President Joe Biden.
He has abandoned Israel. He's totally abandoned Israel. And frankly, you know, he's a low IQ individual. He has no idea where he is and who he's supporting. He doesn't know if he's supporting the Palestinians, but he knows one thing. He is not supporting Israel. He has abandoned Israel. And any Jewish person that votes for a Democrat or votes for Biden should have their head examined.
Now, this comes at a time when Democrats, President Biden, progressives, Jewish Americans of all different stripes are engaged in intense debate over the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the conduct of the war under Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and the path forward. Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, is one of a handful of Jewish senators who's been particularly outspoken about the crisis in Gaza, and he joins me now. I don't think you're going to take any head examination advice from the former president, but I suspect you don't think your head needs to be examined, as you've been very vocally critical of the conduct.
Well, it probably does, but not for the reasons that Trump articulates, but that's another story. Look, you have a president who is a pathological liar, who spends his life trying to divide us up in every which way, who apparently has no compassion within his DNA. Yeah, I'm Jewish. I'm proud to be Jewish. But it doesn't matter whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, or whatever you are. If you take a look at what is going on in Gaza today, your heart is breaking, and you're looking at one of the most horrific humanitarian disasters in the modern history of this country. Chris, as we chat here tonight, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza are starving. The New York Times documented last week that 28 children there have died of malnutrition. I think that number is way, way lower than reality. So we are sitting here while children are dying, starving to death, dying of malnutrition. Gaza has been demolished. The housing units have been destroyed. 1.8 million people have been taken from their homes, put on the road, not knowing where they're going, living in unsafe, horrible conditions. That is the reality. And it really does amaze me that people like Trump could care less that hundreds of thousands of human beings, children, are starving to death. And he uses this moment for his stupid politics to tell us how much he loves Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the architect of this disastrous policy.
I want to play for you something the president said about Benjamin Netanyahu. It's very clear that there is tension and conflict between them about this point. They had a conversation the other day after the airstrike that killed the aid workers for World Central Kitchen. This is what, in an interview with Univision, President Biden had to say about Netanyahu. Take a listen.
What I will tell you is I think what he's doing is a mistake. I don't agree with his approach. I think it's outrageous that those three vehicles were hit by drones and taken out on a highway where it wasn't like it was along the shore. It wasn't like there was a convoy moving there, et cetera. So what I'm calling for is for the Israelis to just call for a ceasefire, allow for the next 6-8 weeks total access to all food and medicine going into the country.
What do you think of that position, Senator?
Well, I think the president is absolutely right. There's got to be a ceasefire right now. And there has got to be, the world has got to respond to this horrific emergency. I mean, a few days ago, Biden talked to Netanyahu. Apparently, he got some commitments from him to open up the borders more, to allow more humanitarian aid. The New York Times just reported a few hours ago that may not be happening or happening to any significant degree. So I think the president is right. There's got to be a ceasefire. The world has got to respond in a dramatic way to get food to starving people. It's not only food. When children are dying of malnutrition, it's not just food. You need certain types of food. The medical facilities have been destroyed. But I'll tell you this also, Chris, where the president is wrong. You don't have to be begging Netanyahu to doing anything. We are supplying and have supplied Israel with huge amounts of money for decades. Right now, there is legislation that would give Israel, and I voted against that legislation, $10 billion more for unfettered military aid. The president has got to say, sorry, Netanyahu, you are not getting one penny more until that situation in Gaza radically changes. We're not begging you anymore. We're telling you. You want money? That's what you got to do. End of discussion.
I want to ask you about a development that's happened over the last few days and then just reported in the New York Times. So obviously, for months now, there have been talk about some kind of deal, some sort of ceasefire deal. And obviously, of the utmost importance from the Israeli side are the hostages. We don't know how many of those hostages are alive. We just don't know the number. And this harrowing headline today, which suggests some real complications here. Hamas does not have 40 hostages who meet terms of potential swap with Israel, officials said. Senior Hamas officials said on Wednesday they don't have the 40 living hostages in Gaza who meet the criteria for an exchange. Obviously, any deal has to have some reciprocity, and hostage release is one of them. And now you've got Hamas saying we don't have them.
Look, this is a nightmare on top of a nightmare. I read that. Who knows? Who knows how they died, why they died? But obviously, you're absolutely right. A hostage exchange. People now have been held under terrible conditions for months, and Israel has a right to demand their release, and that has got to be part of any package.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.